Hello, welcome to Nila Folklore Film Festival. We meet again. And today we are in conversation with Mirajur Rahman Barwa, whose film Echoes of the Past is part of the Panorama section. Now, Mirajur Rahman Barwa is a acclaimed independent documentary filmmaker with multiple awards in his name, including the Rajat Kamal Award for the best film on social issues at the 55th National Film Awards. And to host the event, we have with us Srivalsan Tiyadi. He is an art critic and a journalist who has graciously accepted our invitation to associate with NIFI. These are both eminent personalities in their own fields. And from the side of NIFI, from all the coordinators involved and all the people who have been working towards each and every interaction like this, I welcome to both of you a very heartfelt welcome. Srivalsan.
Yeah. Thanks, Siddharth, for the introduction. So, the film that Mr. Barwa was kind of invited for the festival was, as you know, a 52-minute work called Behrupia. Now, Behrupia wouldn't sound very strange even for the Malayali ear, because we in Kerala also have a lot of Sanskrit words, and this word is also a kind of a blend of two Sanskrit words, which is Bahu and maybe Rupam. So obviously Bahu means not the Hindi Bahu, but then in Malayalam or in Sanskrit, as we say, more than one or anek, or in Malayalam we say anekam, in case Barwa Sahib is not very familiar with our language. And Rupam again is, we say it as Rupam and not Roop. So it's Behrupia is more than one form, more than one appearance, or more than one figure. It's how the film has been titled, basically because the 52-minute work kind of focuses on a particular art form, which has its share of history primarily in the northern part of the country, where there are these people, I suppose only men, coming in different attire, different makeup, that would suggest that they are representing a particular personality, a particular persona, a particular character, maybe from the mythology, maybe from the popular culture, which is even contemporary. So this art form has had its ups and downs, and the first thing that possibly would make the viewer curious is what I would like to ask Mr. Barwa first. Before that, just a brief introduction that besides being spanning 52 minutes, the film has a couple of characters who have been chiefly focused on. Both of them are, one is at least in his middle age. The other one, the second one who comes a bit late, looks slightly younger, but maybe in his early 40s. The other guy in his early 50s or mid 50s. And both are from up north of the country, northwest, so to speak, parts of Gujarat and Rajasthan, where this art form is still largely alive, as we believe. And the prime character among the two is somebody called Sikandar, and the second character is somebody called Mahmood. So these two names also suggest the kind of representation of a particular religion, which also holds a particular significance in the whole movie, because there is a sociological and a cultural context to it, and a backdrop of some kind of an anthropological even setup to it. So we'll explore all those. But before getting directly into the film, let me ask Barwa Sahib, because since this is more of of an art and culture organization that we are representing or on the platform on which we are talking. Possibly, let's get into the aspect of it, of the cultural part of the whole art form, where Mr. Barua can possibly enlighten us on what exactly is the state of Behroopia, at least when the film was shot 5 years ago, or at least when it was released 5 years ago. It is a 2016 film. And it is also the 19th film, I suppose, of Mr. Barua, because he had earlier made some 18. Some of them again culture related, some of them of other interests, of other areas. There is some kind of a slant that we can make out that Mr. Barua has in the performing arts as a documentary filmmaker. So we'll get into all that. But first, to begin with, how alive is Behroopia today in 2021? Leave alone the part of this COVID and the entailing this shortcomings that we have. But in 2021, what kind are these Sikandars and Mahmoods possibly still be making a livelihood of the art form that they practice?
Well, thank you. Well, actually, when we started the film, Behroopia is essentially in the northern part, is surviving in Rajasthan, and one particular place is called Bandikui. It's a place where you have the whole generation of Behroupias, they live, and Sikandar also from the Bandikui village. Later he shifted to Gujarat. So I was kind of concentrating on that area, and then I visited many times. Then I, of course, followed them to various places. Well, coming to your first point about the state of Behroopia, it's diminishing. When I was making the film in 2015, 2016, and then I was kind of following them for almost 3 years. Because, it's a performance in a public space, and that public space is diminishing gradually because of many factors. Of course, the popular media is one, of course, internet and other things. So at this point in time, even if we leave aside the pandemic and other things, I mean, the new generation is not picking up, Behroopia, because they don't see any point in carrying forward this art form, because it is not giving them bread, if not butter. Even if they could have got, earned their bread, they would have continued it. But they're completely in a state of, decline. And so, when at this point in time, I am very much in touch with Sikandar Akbas, the main character. Yeah. So he was saying that we are in a very, bad situation. I mean, because there's no performance happening. Now they're, surviving on some of these state-sponsored programs. I mean, which has its own problem, because I have also tried to capture in the film the whole, the state-sponsored program has a museum approach to it. I mean, you kind of project them as some kind of, pieces that, kind of artifacts. You look at them,
Of course.
Certain perspective, and take some photographs and put it on the wall. Rather than getting in deep into the nitty-gritty of the art form.
Yeah.
So I am very sorry, at this point in time, this I see this art form, fading away from our cultural heritage, and that is very unfortunate, I think. Being a filmmaker and being a part of the journey with them for a couple of years, I feel very sad about it, and helpless, because even if we would want to do something, we are kind of in a helpless situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of things that I get from what you just spoke
Mhm.
is that you say the Sikandar only lately moved out, maybe sometime earlier only moved out to Gujarat,
Right.
and
Yeah.
he belongs to Rajasthan. So I suppose this Rajasthan that you speak of is the western part of Rajasthan, I suppose,
Absolutely.
because there is also some reference to what they call Alwar Gharana.
Yeah.
So which means that this, I suppose it's part of Western Rajasthan.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which is again you are slightly which is just an extension of maybe the topography that you see in say Punjab, Haryana, and that extension of even Agra, where I suppose Sikandar first gets down for his performance in the film. So second part, coming to the before coming to the first scene, how did you stumble upon this art form? Was it something that you had been pretty familiar because you have been in Delhi, though you hail from Assam, have been in Delhi for quite a while, or was it that you only maybe a couple of years before making a decision to kind of shoot the film that you came across the art form, or was it something that you were familiar even earlier?
Well, as I said, you have all the, state-sponsored program by Western Cultural Zone and other things. Then it was happening somewhere in, because we keep traveling as a filmmaker, we keep traveling. Maybe in Jodhpur or somewhere, I, saw them performing.
Oh.
And so, that kind of, attracted me because the kind of makeup and things, and I went and discussed with him certain things, and then I got to know about the art of Behrupia art, and then I started, of course, researching. There are not much, research material, documentation is being done on this aspect, unfortunately. So then, it's all empirical research. I started meeting them, I got to know, and there was somebody from the Western Cultural Zone, Vilas Zanve, who kind of, introduced me to many people. And he has been great help. Then, discussing and seeing their performance, then I had already made the film on mobile theater in Assam. It's been a part of my cultural heritage. So it attracted, I was quite interested, So I thought, why not delve into it more? And then I started exploring it. And then I met Sikandar, of course, Sikandar Abbas, and his family, and his sister and brother. They were traveling some point in time together. But of course, we couldn't incorporate them in the film because at the time constraints. So that's how I started shooting, and then then of course I thought, why not try with Film Citizen? So that's how it worked out, and then I got the fund, and it was easy to carry forward and start and finally finish the film.
So just to make myself clear, when you met or kind of you had your tryst with this art form in Jodhpur, it was in Sikandar or Mehmood performing to some other people?
No, lots of people. Lots of people, yes, yeah. They came and
that isn't still the no, this is Agra that the film begins with, isn't it? Where there is a performance of several other Behrupias also joining in.
That's in Delhi.
That's in Delhi. Okay. That's in Delhi. Okay.
So the similar program you had in Jodhpur, they keep organizing such program.
Fair enough. So how long was the kind of shoot or how much did it take from the conceiving the story or the idea to its final realization?
Well, I took almost 2 years to finish the film.
Okay. Yeah. So when in 2016, when the film came out, you had completed kind of 2 years of involvement with the whole.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Was there any particular reason that you kind of zeroed in on these two people called Sikandar Abbas and Mehmood?
Well, yes, I because they were popular in terms of when I looked at them, their performance, and then when I visited them during the Reiki, I kind of saw their popularity among the masses. So I thought to pick up them,
Oh.
It's a kind of, I've chosen them,
Mhm.
random sampling. It's
Mhm.
kind of display design. Okay, I'll take these two.
Okay. Going by their conduct, both people, there is one thing that is particularly striking, which is common, I thought, about both of them, being that, they are essentially family people also. Both of them are great family men because considering that they are artists and they are kind of the wandering variety where, they have their own outings where they go on for, which would go on for long, maybe weeks or even months. They have every possibility of being slightly irresponsible. But what you see first is that when Sikandar Abbas comes out of the train, the first thing he does at the nearby dhaba while drinking his cup of tea is to call up his family, which he couldn't get the connection. And then immediately, this kind of telling the neighbor to inform them that they'll be coming soon. So that he has reached the place and everything is fine. So this kind of a family thing is, I thought, is very special, since the artists are not supposed to be always very responsible people also. So if you can hear me, did this part of the whole thing also strike you while shooting the movie? Looks like there is a problem with the connection, but then just to fill up the conversation, uh, the for people who are wanderers as well, this looked like a particularly a nice case of the artist being equally responsible, which doesn't happen very often. And it came out very well in both cases. So it wasn't a random thing that happened, I suppose, because both Sikandar Abbas and the other person called Mahmood, whose second name is I'm not very sure of so far. We'll ask the director once he comes back. And these people appear to be considering their art form as not just part of their aesthetics or tradition, but also a way in which they can earn money, earn their income, not become rich, but earn their income to lead a sufficiently or reasonably good life that can make their family happy. So that is one thing I found particularly interesting about this this film. This this kind of an art form, of course, has its shades in other parts of the country, I'm sure. Even in Kerala, we have art forms, I suppose, where this collection of money that comes as a kind of a nice word called bakshish. Instead of wages, you call them, or in Malayalam or in Sanskrit as you call it, dakshina. So it comes like that. And so that is how in some points they even kind of tell the onlooker or the viewer that abhi paisa mat dena, don't give me money right now, बाद में बख्शिश बाद में दे दीजिए, जब खत्म हो जाएगा, जब मेरा परफॉर्मेंस तभी दे देना. So that is that kind of ensures that they have some dignity, even when it looks like a street art. Now, street art itself is not very new to cinema. In fact, some of the very outside of the documentary world, also some of the very big films have survived or have their themes focused on street art. For example, there is 1954 itself, La Strada, which is one of this classics in the global context. It's an Italian movie. It has happened. Much of it has happened on the road. Or on the other side, there is in 1996, there is a film that came out called The King of Masks, which is a Chinese movie, where also it's a street art, only that that's also Behrupiya in a different way. It's the same person doing the same person performing or coming up with different masks, and this slashing somewhere just ahead of his face, and then getting the movements, getting different shapes to his face. Now, Mr. Baruba, I'm happy that you're back. I suppose you can hear me. I was only trying to fill in the conversation by slightly going off the track, and this. So nice to be seeing you back. So I was just telling you, our viewers, that this combination of love of tradition, and on the one side, which would aesthetically drive you in certain directions, and on the other side, being very mundane that way, कि अपना परिवार को संभालो करके, that kind of one very this head of the family kind of responsibility also coming in together look particularly interesting. So did you find at a closer look that actually Mahmood or Sikandar are really the people that you showed on camera, that we saw on the film?
Well, can you hear me?
I can.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I mean, see, this whole Behrupiya business, it's not something like, you perform and you start, taking money. It's not that, they go to a village, stay there for almost 5 to 7 days. Okay. And they would perform different kind of, act, starting with mythology. Okay. And then on the last day, they would have a particular kind of performance. Like they would become a police officer or a munim, where there is a possibility of performing an art where you can demand money. Okay. So in the case of our film, I saw he's becoming a munim, going to them and telling them what kind of expenses he has. Okay. And then, he would ask for money, and initially what has happened, they would have a diary with them. Okay. They would carry the diary and they will, have it on record, how much you have paid in your previous visit. Yeah. So they would take out the diary. If you are giving, suppose, X amount, he would take out the diary and say, no, last time you gave me Y amount. Okay, this is on record and here's a sign. So, then they would, it's a kind of patronage that has been, traditionally it was there during the princely states, this was the kings and all. Then later on, it's shifted to people, And then they would see, or if the father is not there, then father may have passed away, the son is there sitting there on. He would say, okay, my father has given this much. Okay. Maybe next time you come, this time my business is not well. So that is how it has a record. They have a history of who has paid how much amount. Yeah. So accordingly, they get the money, and then it's earning with respect. It's not trading. If somebody gives it to them, as I saw when he was becoming blind and he was given money, he said, "No, don't give me that. I'm a Behrupiya in acting." And it just happened. It is not constructed though. One may feel that it's a constructed image. It's not.
About the figures that are involved in Behrupiya, I noticed that there are two streams to it. One is the mythological characters of the Hindu mythology, which we can also say is Indian. Like you have Lord Shiv. You have quite a few characters who would be otherwise familiar to those who have some knowledge of Puranas.
Right.
On the other hand, I also noticed that there is a kind of a popular culture that they also that also sustains their artistry. Where at least three cases were seen in your film. One dates back to half a century ago, though it's still popular culture, which is Mera Naam Joker, and then this Raj Kapoor kind of role. That I suppose Sikandar enacts. And I also saw this the other guy, Mehboob, doing the Sholay, which is a 1975 film. So 45 years now. He does the Gabbar Singh role, mounted on a horse and coming and talking to the villages where there's a hill in the backdrop and all, which looks much like your of the real life kind of scene, which is now duplicated in real life. And though he amusingly this utters this word Gabbar Singh as Jabbar Singh, I was a bit confused whether I got it wrong, but then I later realized that it's only his kind of way of pronouncing it. Doesn't matter. And in another scene, there is this Kaun Banega Crorepati, which is again a 2000 thing, which is only 2 decades old, where Amitabh Bachchan is being shown how he behaves on this program on the mini screen. So is this in some other way also, did it used to exist maybe say in the early part of, I suppose in 1930s was a kind of a critical period for this art form, where it kind of almost died down or came back. And so 90 years ago also, there could be some popular figures, there could be some Raja, some Mantri, some rich man, some lord, feudal lord in the neighborhood. So was that also any idea whether even this contemporary people who are being portrayed is not very new, or is it completely a very new thing?
No, it did exist in a very subtle form. They had, because Behrupia, they had license to, critique you, even if they could critique the king. Okay, because it's a performance. Okay, then what has happened when the princely state collapsed? It came to the feudal lords and the Mahajans and moneylenders, and so they started patronizing, of course. So they would also perform those characters. Okay, like the strongest feudal lord in the village, and then there is a money lending person, So it has started like that. However, when the popular form, and this, it was gradually, of course, losing its popularity because of the film and other medium. So what has they thought of bringing contemporary theme to their art form? Then they started aping various characters from the popular films, and Gabbar Singh character was one of very popular character. Okay, and then they saw this Crorepati, Amitabh Bachchan becoming very popular. They incorporated that into their art form so that they can sustain. As some of the women are saying that nobody want to watch now the Shiva and other mythological character because they started getting in television.
Yeah.
And so they started, incorporating characters. Now they have all kinds of character incorporated into the So that is how it all started, and so I hope now what is happening very unfortunate though. Since it's not working out, one of the character, I couldn't put him in the film, but I shot him with a couple of days. What he's doing is, he's becoming clown in birthday parties. Wearing all kinds of plastic. You get all this Charlie Chaplin. So he's Hamid. He stays in Delhi. He takes contract. So I shot him, but I didn't want to put because it's not the general. He's one of
I suppose there is again this power failure, which has led to a small break. Possibly he'd come back again, And at this juncture, I'd like to again go back to the film and come up with a couple of more details. One is about these people when they act, if they are mythological roles, at least there is some kind of a leeway they have, because you don't exactly know how Shiva, Lord Shiva or Vishnu or Brahma spoke. And these are all, they can be kind of performed as a very classical, what do you call this, method acting kind of thing. But on the other hand, when you know how Mera Naam Joker character Raj Kapoor performed, or how Gabbar Singh speaks, or even Amitabh Bachchan for that matter comes on TV with his KBC program, it makes it all the more tough for them to actually reproduce the kind of dialogues and to present them in a way that would look for the viewer pretty sure that he is imitating this person. So what I meant to say is that it also looked that their acting skills also really looked being tested, and both of them came out, I would say, successfully out, because this especially Sikandar, who does a kind of a along a street he walks in one scene, performing this role of Amitabh Bachchan, which he also looks a bit like him, like the superstar. And he speaks to a couple of people, one who is a chemist on the roadside, who he uses this word druggist also. He uses them well. The words, the selection of the choice of the words is particularly impressive. And they get into a conversation. The other guy also looks very warm, and the talk proceeds. So that is so to be to have your acting skills also being tested in a realistic fashion while you're performing a conventional, traditional art form that is anyway subject to modifications due to the constraints of the new time. Looked a bit challenging, and then both guys managed to come out successfully. Now, while Mr. Barua said that these are issue that he was saying that these people are losing out business. Thanks, Mr. Barua. I'll just complete my sentence and come back.
I'm sitting in UP, so you can understand it like electricity.
Yeah. So I was just coming back. I was just trying to ask you whether you were saying that this art form has its set of has its share of slide and all, where the new generation is not entirely taking up the whole thing. But then, doesn't it also have a bit of a? Isn't it a factor that in this new age, where you in any case see a lot of color around life? This suddenly this roots of Shiva or Vishnu coming in doesn't create the kind of wonder that it might have had on you if you were alive 100 years ago. So isn't that a factor? And then we'll come back to the religious part of it.
Well, yeah, that is definitely a factor. But that is what is happening also. There are some religious programs. It's a very common phenomena across the country, and they are being invited. As I have shown Sikandar Abbas being invited in Mathura to perform Shiva in a temple. So that still holds some kind of important prominence for them. So that they continue to do so. Apart from the religious aspect, that will take on later, maybe, as you say. So. It may have some importance among the people who are little aged and who is into worshipping God and things like that, because it's an iconization. You immediately start iconizing, revering him as God, as it happens. So but how to connect or engage the young generation?
Hmm.
They wanted that also.
Hmm.
So they started, taking issues from the contemporary
Hmm.
theme. So
Yeah.
that is how they started taking, Crorepati and Pathan, because you would see in films in the Pathan characters and things and,
Hmm.
so that is how, and they are still evolving, and trying out new things. And some of them may work, and like the Sai Baba.
Oh.
So he wanted to, because the current socio-political scenario is such, that he wanted to convey certain messages, So that was possible through Sai Baba, perhaps. So he took that very consciously decision to, annex Sai Baba. And it was a place in Haryana when I was shooting. And it's a kind of, very polarized kind of population you see there. So that is how he, tried to, is and, and negotiate to the current political, socio-political.
Yeah. This religious thing, to begin on a positive note, it's not, at least these parts of Agra, Mathura, and, this Gokul and that kind of a Vrindavan has, I suppose, this culture of, for example, Ram Leelas there are also performed by non-Hindus, primarily Muslims. There are Ram Leelas where even the name of the artist who performs as Ram could be some Abdul Aziz or something. So that is a specialty of that place. But that apart, when it comes to say a place like Rajasthan or maybe further down south Gujarat, where this art form also seems to have some ethos relevant to it. I found that there is a dilemma that these people face, or there's a piquancy that was involved in the whole thing, being that on the one hand, it's Sikandar and Mahmud, who are Muslims themselves, going out and performing as Hindu mythological characters. And on the other hand, there are crowds of Muslims themselves, of their own fellow religion people, saying that we don't want it here because we don't believe in these gods. And in any case, Allah is a rupee, so you can't give him a shape and kind of anyway impressing us. There is no question of this art form running here. So you find that on the one hand there are certain Muslims, if you categorize them that way, wanting to show or involve themselves in their own fellow people who say that we don't want it here. So was it a kind of how do these people cope up with that, or do they have to ensure that they have to go to Hindu pockets while they present all this? Is that the case? Like,
well, yeah, popularly they go to the areas which is predominantly, of a certain religion, that is Hinduism. Because they perform the mythological character to start with. They are the mainly, their audience. Now, what is happening in the last 7-8 years, because they carry a certain name, it is essentially in Rajasthan, it's essentially the Muslims who have become recognized. They have a Muslim name, so they have, they would immediately question them. Their integrity even. Why do you perform this? So they have started changing their name. Okay?
Yeah.
Chand become Chandar.
Yeah.
Somebody becoming Pooja. So
Yeah.
they have, certain name they have started taking because they don't have a choice. They have to survive. It's a question of survival.
Yeah, I got the point. Yeah. So just to kind of complete that cycle of it, while these people have had to change their names, I also noticed at the beginning of the film where there is apparently it's a village on the northwestern plain somewhere. It's a dusty village, slightly walled and all with the single tree standing out. Where there is this youngster of the village itself. posing as Ravan with 10 heads, and his name was Chand, I suppose. And there is again somebody called Bhagwana, so which also means that this art form has its. But those people apparently was kind of lamenting that this used to be the case, and abhi tak to haal utna acha nahi hai, kind of. So so is it that this art form is when it comes to even the Hindu mythological characters surviving greatly on Muslim people, or was it just a kind of aberration that happened in your movie?
No, in the Rajasthan, it's essentially that's a Bandikui village where all the Behrupiyas, live. Because what has happened during the princely state, Behrupiyas were given certain villages, that you would perform in this area, and they would give a certain amount of land. So that's how they expanded.
Okay.
So, and of course, with this patronage from the king, so they would flourish. So they are restricted in that area, essentially, as they said, Alwar, Jaipur, Alwar, and in this region. So, because mythology has always been, of interest to people, and maybe now we have so many images of mythological characters, so maybe that doesn't interest us more. But during the time of the kings and queens, they were very popular, and then that's how they thought it will always have, it will prevail. It will have interest. So they start with the mythological characters, so people, immediately identify, engage with them. So that's a different story now, because things have changed over the last 7-10 years. And with the revivalism from both the sides are becoming problems. Either side you have problems.
Yeah.
So please.
Yeah, so that part of it has largely been answered, I suppose. Now, just to wind up, because we are nearing the closer time, on zooming out of this film, I noticed that you have yourself done the camera work also. So has that been your general practice, or is it that it just happened in this film?
No, I prefer doing camera if it's an intimate issues.
Okay.
So that I can sit and make the camera very unobtrusive,
Okay.
Because if the camera person is there, I'm talking, there is something, obstructing your thoughts. So they were, like my friends. So I could easily put the camera on my lap and start shooting. And they would be talking. So that's how I got, deep into their psyche. Then they were felt that somebody is encroaching privacy.
Which also meant that this was a particularly intimate subject for you as well.
Yeah, it does. It is.
Okay. So just to wind up, just as you said, this Behrupiyas have this, or at least used to have this power of critiquing even the king. I should say that you are welcome also to Kerala, because we have here an art form called Chakyar Kuthu, where where the narrator would go on talking to people. The stories are basically from Hindu mythology, but he can anytime freak out and make that an excuse at some situations to even criticize, to even make fun of VIPs sitting in the front rows. So and you are not supposed to shout back, or you're not even supposed to even silently protest.
Okay.
So that is one thing. And the other thing that you are talking about, these people, some of them have become even working as clowns in some marriage function and all. Somewhat a similar situation has begun prevailing in Kerala also, where this, for example, there is this in the northern part of the state we have, which is called Malabar, the belt. We have this temple art called Theyyam, and this Theyyam characters are supposed to be associated with just the temple that they are performing. They have a semi-god status, at least when they do the artistic part of it and the ritualistic part of it. But in these days, they are also occasionally seen in melas and this where they are just a part of Sinosha for the eyes, where people would click even selfies with them, and so kind of a tragedy has struck on them also to a certain extent, which again kind of reminded me of that when you spoke of this. So I suppose you can also try coming down south to our state as well for some of these projects. We can be in touch with, and Wiley people also can help you, I suppose. So it's nice talking to you. I suppose I'm been kind of interested to wind up the whole conversation also. So to kind of conclude, this is, I suppose, a film that all of us should watch, not just for the artistic quality of it, which has come out very well, but beyond that, it's also a peek at how certain people kind of modify or reinvent themselves to survive, and some of them have had their exits briefly. For example, Mehboob in this story was briefly out for 6 years doing some clothing business, some business which was related to some garment kind of shop that he ran, and then he found that his mind was no longer in it, and then he came back. So, which also means that it's not just about the aesthetics of a particular art form, but the kind of real life stories that come out, and where the people who have a kind of there is briefly, for example, there is a Chaplin-esque, I would say, streak to it, because somebody, I suppose it was Sikandar doing it, where he had to roar in laughter. And after that, he would say that I was actually hungry at that time, but then I had to impress the crowd. So I had to forget that. And when everything was over, and when the show was over, my hunger was also over without having eaten food. So these are kind of very poignant moments that have very casually come in and gone in the film, which is also which is also an indicator of good direction that has happened in the movie, I suppose. So nice talking to you, Mr. Barua. So we'll be in touch, and then I would again reiterate that this you're welcome to Kerala, not just as a visitor but also as a filmmaker. There are a lot of art forms here as well, most of them performing. So be with us next time. And I suppose, did you shoot, just to shoot my final question, did you have another movie that was shot after this one, or has this been your last one? No.
No. I made a couple of them.
The film called Deep Rising has come after.
I made after that. Yes.
Okay,
and I made a couple of films on the identity of, Indian identity, Indian immigrants in US.
Yeah.
And on the one is Indian per se, one is on the Nistican identity of Sikh in US, how they targeted.
As extremists or not.
And the last film I made it's called The Many Paces of Time. It's about the focusing on the Muslims in US.
Okay.
And at the backdrop of 9/11.
Yeah. So when it comes to Muslims, I also noticed that you have made a 2007 movie on this that I happened to see on YouTube on this Muslim women and their struggles for gender equality, which was shot in Tamil Nadu. So you play. So next time you shouldn't be missing it when you at least come to Tamil Nadu. So nice talking to you, sir. And sir,
Thank
you. And then
definitely. Thank you so much.
Thanks, sir. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I'll let Siddharth to come in, and then I suppose wind up the business.
Yes.
I don't see a reason for me to come in, but thank you for calling me here.
Yeah, no, you must. And thank you so much, inviting me for that.
Yes. So when we hope to conduct events, this is going to be something that we will cherish. And this is something that we will hope to show other people, saying that this is the sort of event that we want to conduct, because this particular event and the flow of conversation has been beautiful. In spite of technical difficulties, how Srivalsan carried on conversation.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm sitting in UP.
That
is a problem.
In spite of that, Srivalsan has been able to carry conversation and carry audience along with him. I've been sitting here post, because this is so beautifully done. And the stories of these people and all of it is just, I've seen the film a couple of times. So what we do is when we make posters for these films, and all these posters are individually designed, and we spend a lot of time doing all of that.
I'm sure. Feel free to show this anywhere you like.
Thank you. And thank you for coming.
Thank you, Siddharth. So thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
Thank
Thanks, sir.
From my side, from the entire side of MIFI, all people working towards MIFI, I thank you both. It has been a pleasure having you. This is a moment to cherish for MIFI, because this conversation has gone beautifully. This is how we want talks to go.
Thank you.
It's been beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.